Hey, this is Rahul from the Objective Reporter. I'm here with Representative Deb Lavender. Ms. Lavender, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm State Representative Deb Lavender. I represent House District 90 right now. It's Kirkwood, Glendale area, Warson Woods, and I'm running for State Senate in District 15. District 15 starts in Glendale, goes west out to Wildwood, sort of kind of Manchester is the north border, goes down to Sunset Hills, 55 and Butler Hill, and includes all of the municipalities in between.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. So amid the pandemic, now as schools are starting to get back in session, do you support the reopening of schools in the fall, and what do you think would be the best way to reopen safely?
Well, we all support children going to school. Many of us have concerns that we're going to be able to do that safely, and I think our school districts are struggling with that right now. The concern, as we've seen with baseball players, is we start having baseball and then the Cardinals have been canceled, I believe, for the last 10 days because the coronavirus is, I think, now infected 14 or 15 of their members, both players and staff. So there's a huge concern as we go back to school that where our children might be at lower risk. We know we have teachers in the classrooms, we have support staff, we have office staff, and many people live with a second and a third generation. So the huge concern is as we open these schools to go back, can we control the closeness of our classrooms? I think now all of the school systems in Senate District 15 are going virtual for the first semester as the coronavirus continues to peak here in the St. Louis area and in Missouri in general. What do we do to go back safely? I think as a community, we wear masks. We have demonstrated through studies and anecdotal information that masks work to help control the spread of the virus. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't make us at no risk to getting the virus, but it substantially decreases the risk of the virus. And if we all do that, the risk of infections will go down substantially. I think that's the first thing we as a community can do to support our schools, our children, our teachers, our staff, to when schools get to be opened up, they get to be opened up safely. And after that, Rahul, I will rely on our incredible school systems that have just worked tirelessly on how they bring communities back to school and how they can do that safely. Whether it's a hybrid, whether it's a students A come in on Monday and Tuesday and students B come in on Wednesday and Friday, that we can limit the number of people, whether it's to have those with high needs be able to be in classrooms, whether we are able to create some kind of pod effect, that there are children that only associated with these other children and the families are comfortable, that they have a pod and agreement that they'll stay safe outside of the school systems. But I think what we need to do as a community, and we've lost several months of opportunity of wearing masks, being safe with each other, being cautious, and trying to get the virus under control.
All right, thank you. Now, in a time when many are opposed to the police, the defund the police movement has grown a lot recently. Do you think it's possible to instead repair the relationship between law enforcement and the community? And how do you go about doing that?
I absolutely do think we can repair and continue to build bridges with our police departments. I do not think and do not agree with defunding the police as any type of tactic that we should be taking at this time in any of our communities here in Missouri. We have some amazing people who are police officers. I think what we're starting to look at and seeing, sometimes it's challenging to be able to make changes because some of the rules and regulations that are in place to protect our police officers, and where I want our police officers protected, I think we need to start looking at it also from a community point of view. Are our communities as safe as they could be? If there's a mental health issue, can we call 411 and have mental health people sent to that location? If there's truly just a traffic incident or a broken taillight, is there a traffic segment of the police departments that respond to non-crucial situations, that help control traffic and taillights and accidents and things along those lines. I think there's so much that we can do to help support our police departments that allow them to branch out into other areas, that we are providing mental health care coverage. We're providing social service situations. Sometimes the high level of poverty is what affects our communities. And police officers are not always uniquely situated, usually not uniquely situated to help resolve issues of poverty, which is so often sometimes where the crime starts coming about. Domestic abuse. They also want us to recognize and realize that our police officers see some incredible things, and being able to support them with mental health care coverage for themselves, helping keep them healthy. There's a lot of things that we know can be done in communities to keep them safer on both sides of the formula. And I do think there's more than adequate room to build bridges to keep our communities safe.
Okay, thank you. Now, taking more of a national perspective, as the progressive movement in the Democratic Party continues to grow, and as both parties continue to grow apart, we've seen a lot of that recently. How much harder do you think it will be to come to consensus or make compromises across party lines?
Well, I think currently it is challenging to make consensus across party lines on the issues that divide us, whether those issues are Medicaid expansion. My Republican colleagues put out, I'm going to say, misinformation to try to get people to vote no on that. As a state, we decided we wanted Medicaid expansion. And now the issue is going to be, how do we implement that? Implementation starts in the budget process. There is money in our budget to allow us to initiate the expansion of Medicaid this next year. And I'm hopeful that we are able to come to an agreement easily across the aisles for that. And then certainly the other issues, whether it's guns, whether it's abortion, whether it's public education, there is still a very distinct Republican-Democrat divide on how we go about providing for people in the state. And I think we're going to continue to have some of those challenges for a little bit longer, until we all kind of settle back down a little bit and realize that we truly just want families to be supported, to have the opportunities for success, and for the opportunities. Sometimes we need to give a hand up to get people self-sufficient. And our support structures in Missouri aren't currently doing that. We limit how much people can make financially to garner a little bit of support. And we need to work on a step down process, that just because I make $10 more this month doesn't mean I lose all of the benefits for my family and my children that I have. As I'm attempting to better myself, as I'm attempting to get a raise, we need to step that process down, so the more I make, the fewer services I get, but that we don't literally, we have what is called the cliff effect, that if I make $10 too much, I lose everything. So I think there's a way that we can continue to bring that together and realize that as we support people appropriately, they have the better opportunity to then go out on their own.
And just wondering, on top of that, do you think there are any issues that remain free of that Republican-Democrat divide in Congress today?
There are, and the thing is, they are so, I'll use the word mundane, and I don't mean that to say that the issues aren't important, but there really are so many issues that are important, whether it's to deal with insurances, whether it's to deal with regulations, whether it's to deal with traffic issues. There really are so many issues that we all do work together and have quite a bit of consensus. It is not unusual in the House for a bill to pass with 140 votes, 150 votes, and that's out of 163. So all things that we discuss here in Missouri are not contentious. There are many things that we discuss that there is a commonality in making the state better for all.
Okay, that's good to hear. And as you probably know, our state ranks 34th in public funding of education. We're just wondering, how important do you think funding our public education is, and how would you go about improving that on the state level?
Well, I certainly think funding public education is one of the most important things that we can do as a state. And that is one of the areas where we are dividing more as Republicans and Democrats. Republicans want parents to have a choice of where they send their children, whether it's to private school, homeschooling versus public education versus charter education. What we're really doing is diluting the amount of money available for public education. And where it sounds good to say parents have a choice of where they send their children, I'm afraid it will continue to benefit those children who are already in families that have enough money to succeed. And the less we make public education available, I think the further our education will fall down into difficulties with preparing people for the workforce that we need to have for the future. You used to be able to have a high school degree or even maybe be a high school dropout and come out and get a job, and a good paying job, whether it was working an assembly line, whether it was truly digging a ditch, whether it was some type of sanitation situation. You could work and have a middle class income salary and be successful in life. Due to technology and computerization and instrumentation, you can't do that anymore. You need almost an associate's degree technology wise to be able to run a backhoe, to be able to run a sanitation truck, to be able to work on an assembly line. Installing windshields these days, you've got to have some computer ability because of that your windshields detect when a car is coming and alerts you. So there's technology built into windshields these days. So there's so much technology that's in our everyday life that the educational requirements to make a decent living have gone up. And if we're not supplying those opportunities for all of our children, whether they live in poverty areas, whether they live in well-to-do areas, we're failing people of our state. As we're 34th in the nation and we are not providing the education I feel we should for our children, that is a big divide. For me, we have cut corporate taxes in our state to the tune of close to $750 million a year over this last decade. Had we not cut had we not cut corporate taxes so substantially, we'd have $750 million more in the budget on a yearly basis. And an awful lot of that money would then be available to go to education. And I think it's a shame that we've cut our budget, the taxes as substantially as we have. No one will be surprised to know that our economy has not increased. Our economic increase has lagged behind all of the states that border us over the last several years. And over the last half of a decade, Missouri has continued to lag behind in economic growth. And what's so sad for us as Missourians is we have a beautiful state. We have so much opportunity and resources in this state. We could be thriving, but we need to invest in the people of our state to be able to do that instead of giving corporate tax cuts. And I think we've been on the wrong path for quite a while here in the state of Missouri.
All right, thank you. It was great to get to know you today. And thank you for joining us. We wish you good luck in your coming elections in November. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us.
Well, thank you. I surely enjoyed the opportunity to be with you today. Thank you for reaching out to my office, and the best wish to both of you. I appreciate the title of your program, The Objective Reporter.
Yep.
All right. Take care then.
Yep. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.